Halo, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Charlie Nurmaini. In this video, we will explain about conversation analysis. So, conversation analysis is one of the three approaches in discourse analysis. What is conversation analysis? So, conversation analysis study how people manage and organize real-life conversations. So, the purpose of conversation analysis is to show the structure and the principles of conversation. So, in conversation analysis, there is locally managed. It means the participants in the conversation do not plan the conversation and use the principles that they have known before. So there are 6 principles of conversation analysis. So the first one is adjacency pairs, openings, closings, turn taking, repair, and the last is institutional talk. So we discussed the first one, adjacency pairs. What is adjacency pairs? So adjacency pairs is how the participant responds another participant when they talk in a conversation. For example, when we give questions for someone, we want the response of answer. When we say request to someone, we want the response of acceptance or refusal. And then there are 2 types of adjacency pairs. The first one is preferred choice. Preferred choice is the choice that the interlocutor more like it. For example, we more like the acceptance besides than refusals when we ask someone, and then we want the answers when we ask the question for someone, then non-answers or silence. And the second is this preferred choice. So in this preferred choice, there is a disruption to the conversational flow and need explanations. For example, participant 1 say, "Want to go out for a drink tonight?" And participant 2 say, "Oh, I'd love to, but I have to study for a test." So in this conversation, participant 2 reject the invitation of participant 1 to go out for a drink tonight. So in adjacency pairs, there is response effect, the continuity and exchange in a conversation. For example, the ring of a telephone or summons can lead to response by saying hello, which can lead to an answer and can lead to clarify with saying, "Is that Jane?" and so on. So in adjacency pairs, there is violations. For example, not responding to a question when someone gives you question. So violations will be rude in a conversation if the participant do not agree appropriately. So the second principle is openings. So opening is the beginning of a conversation that involves an exchange of greetings. For example, in the telephone we say hello. With strangers, we say, "I'm Shirley, nice to meet you." And with close friends, we use special ritualistic beginnings. So openings highly prescribed by cultural settings. So openings affected by cultural setting. So according to Scaveglove 1968, there are 4 adjacency pairs template in the telephone opening in American English. The first one is summons and response. So when phone rings, picking up, giving a brief greeting. So the answer of the call ring telephone say hello. And the second, we have identification sequence. So in this identification sequence, the caller say, is that Janet? And the answerer say, yeah. And the third is greeting tokens with saying hi. And the fourth is ritualized inquiry. So we ask others' well-being by saying, how are you? And the response for color can be from answer the color can be good. You? So there is cross-linguistic and cross-cultural variations in the telephone opening. So for example, in the USA, answerer says hello first. In Japan, caller speaks and identifies him or herself first. In Netherlands and Sweden, people answer the telephone by identifying themselves. But in France, caller must verify number, identify self, apologizes for intruding. So the third principle is closing. So what are closings? So closing is the way people end a conversation politely and clearly. So we can say it is satisfactory close with politely and clearly. So abrupt closings cause dissatisfaction or bewilderment. For example, hanging up someone during a phone call or cut off. So closing often ritualistic. For example, we say goodbye. And closing require clear indications to occur. So there is pre-closing signals, or we can say actual closing. We can say an expression like, well, I think that's all. I'll let you go now, or brief summary of agreements. And then you can say in personal exchanges. For example, give my regards to your wife, or it was great meeting you. And then you can use physical gestures like you rising from chair or adjusting your posture. And then conversation does not actually close. For example, oh, by the way, I've just remembered, and you continue your conversation. So there are 4 steps in actual closing. The first one is topic closed down, for example. So that's a great. The second is pre-closing exchange. You can say okay. And the third is acknowledgement. You can say good to see you, thanks again, or see you soon. And then the last is farewell exchange. You can say bye. So example, in the closing sequence, you can read this conversation by yourself. So A say, so that's a great. So this is topic closed down. And A also say, thanks for the help. This is the acknowledgement. And A also say, okay, this is pre-closing exchange. And then B say, bye. This is farewell exchange. So the fourth principle is turn taking. So turn taking is how the participants involved or take part in the conversation that is doing. So there are circumstances of turn taking. So you can find the turn taking between as few as 2 participants and upward of a dozen, on the telephone as well as in face-to-face interaction, and how many people want to take a turn. So turn taking follows like traffic rules that we're naturally aware of. Turn taking also pre-allocated. It means turn taking can spelled out such as in ceremonies or formal debate. So we can indicating the end of a turn with word or expression like and with body. So you relaxing the posture, gesture with hand, and so on. And you can use transition relevant place. So in this transition relevant place, you can point where speaker can complete their turn and also select the next speaker. For example, speakers use gaze looking at a specific individual and say his or her name, or just say you. And in turn taking, there is floor management. So for floor management is control over who speaks in conversation. There is two types. The first one is F1 type. So this is linear and hierarchical. So in this F1 type, mostly male participants. And then the second is F2 types. So in this F2 type, it is more collaborative and egalitarian. And this is mostly for male and female participants. According to Tannen, 1987 identifies conversational overlap. It means New Yorkers like a lot of talk going on in casual conversation that they talk while others all talking. So the fifth principle is repair. So repair refers to the way speakers fix problems such as false starts, stammers, errors, and correction during the conversation. So there is some types of repair. The first one is self-initiated self-repair. So the speaker notices the problem and corrects it by themselves. For example, I met her last Monday. Tuesday. And the second is self-initiated other repair. So in this type, the speaker identifies the problem but asks the listener to help complete or correct it. So for example, I forgot the name of the place. What is it again? And then the third is other initiated self-repair. So the listener signals that something is unclear or incorrect, and the speaker then repairs their own utterance. For example, the speaker say who, and the speaker then repairs their own utterance by saying, "Oh, my cousin Anna." And the fourth is other initiated other repair. So the listener directly corrects the speaker's mistake. For example, the speaker can say excuse me or what. For example, in this conversation, the speaker say he lives in Malaysia. And the listener corrects the speaker by say Malaysia. So, and the last principle is institutional talk. So, institutional talk refers to interactions that occur in formal or institutional settings, such as hospitals, schools, courts, offices, and customer service. We have the example in classroom setting. So in classroom setting, teachers and students play different roles and language choice. So the teacher have a power than the students in the classroom. And the teacher usually use IRF sequence in teaching. So for example, in initiation, response, and feedback from the students. And the second example is in doctor's office. So how doctors interact with patients and seeks to illustrate how the power, differential, and conversational structure. So this is the last our video today. So thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.